Hey Scorpio Risings, welcome to the High Vibe channel. My name is Nell Nicole. I am your astrologer, and we're going to get into Scorpio Rising, personality, life, style, the whole shit. Okay, let's just get into everything. So the first thing I want to go into with each of these videos is why rising signs. Why are we talking about rising signs? Well, to start, we have gone over sun signs and moon signs already on the channel. If you're interested in learning more about your placement, the placement of a loved one, a person you know, or a celebrity, or you just interested in astrology as a whole, those are some really good series that are already posted. There's some really good discourse going on in the comments. I love to hear you guys' opinion on what it is that I'm talking about in the videos, because I really love astrology, and this shit is really like not just based off books I've read, but my own observations. So when people can relate to it and kind of give me their own anecdotal knowledge, I love that. So go ahead and view those playlists if you haven't already. And it's only natural that the third installment on the channel be about rising signs. Why rising signs? Your rising sign or your ascendant is basically the first point in your birth chart as a whole, which is where we even find out where your sun and moon placements are. Rising signs help us to understand where the chart starts, and from there, it lays out the orientation of the rest of your chart. Basically, your chart is a 360-degree circle. Let me see, where are we? Where's Scorpio here? So it would be like this. They're upside down. But anyways, basically, the sign on the first house is where the horizon was upon your time of birth. The chart is just a snapshot of the sky upon your time of birth. When we find out where the rising is, it tells us what that first little chunk is. Each chunk is 30 degrees of the 360. Each chunk is called a house, and it's represented by a sign. So we know when the horizon was on Scorpio, that first house is ruled by Scorpio. And then second house is going to be fucking Sagittarius. Anyways, it lets us know where all the other signs are, and then of course your planets are on top of this, and from there it gives us the information we need to know to be able to disseminate what's going on within your life, your energy, right? How is that? Okay, the chart is basically like a map and a clock meta. Okay, it, like, all the signs are essentially cities or whatever you want to call it, right? They're places, they're locations where certain things transpire, where certain things rule. And then you have all of your planets that are on top of this, and asteroids and the whole nine, which tells us where certain energy centers for you are located. These are where your men are, right? So at that point, if you're asking me about career, I can say, oh, you have your career houses ruled by this, and you have these planets available, which gives you certain energy here and here. This is where you should tap in order to kind of, you know what I mean, work that part of your chart and make some moves. It's also like a clock, because this whole thing is a timekeeping machine. And so, based on where the planets are now, it can help me understand what time it is for you. So very interesting, very valuable, very, very interesting information. So we're going to talk about rising sign first and kind of get an idea of how your chart is oriented. Today, I'm trying to keep these videos down to 20 minutes. So we're just going to talk about first house, fourth house, 10th house, or excuse me, 7th house and 10th house placements. In a later video, we will go through each of the houses to talk about, what all of your rulings are. Y'all, I'm so sorry. Y'all know what I'm trying to say. We'll talk about what planets or which signs rule each of your houses. But of course, if you want an in-depth reading, you'll have to go to my link tree, book a reading, from the link there and all of that, because that is going to take, like, real readings take about an hour, hour and a half. This video, I'm trying to keep to 20 minutes, so let's get started. First house being in Scorpio. Where does that leave us? Here. Scorpio is... First of all, first house is all about your personality. This tells me kind of how you come off to the outside world. Regardless of what else is going on in your chart, it's filtered through this Scorpio lens, right? Or, whatever. And Scorpio energy is so funny because it's not a very showy type of energy. So these people tend to come off a little bit more reserved, a little bit more... like won't speak unless spoken to. When they do speak, they tend to ask more questions than they answer. They want to definitely kind of size up the scenario or the room or whatever. They like to get a good analysis of what's going on before they enter into certain situations. It and I don't know if this is like they just like to be this way. I feel like what ends up happening is if they are, like, say the rest of their chart is super exuberant and they come into situations with that light, with that energy shining through that Scorpio filter, it might not come off right. Or they might have had experiences where that's what they've concluded is like, okay, no, I'd rather be more reserved because when I don't, it's misunderstood, or I'm picking up something like that, right? Because Scorpio is ruled by Pluto. The planet Pluto is all about transformation, and it's kind of like death and destruction energy. So it doesn't feel pleasant all the time. A lot of times it's very necessary. And I feel like Scorpio people be knowing what needs to be said, what needs to happen, how it needs to happen. But it doesn't always, man, people don't like to hear the truth. Um, I do think with the Scorpio energy, sometimes some of the things that you do, you know, you like to keep it under wraps. You don't necessarily want people putting you under a microscope. So you try to avoid doing that with the people because people are definitely going to throw that type of shit in your face. But you be knowing. And so I got my notes here. There is this sort of magnetic, intense, like, energy to you guys. And it's focused. It's like y'all are not the type where somebody can just pull the wool over your eyes. If there's a group of people, you are the ones that's watching the front, the back, the side to make sure no funny business. You understand? But in the same sense, like, it gives this quiet type of air. And you might not even be a quiet person. You might not even be a man of little words, but you come off that way to, you know, upon first impression and with people who really don't know you. You do tend to have this stare. Scorpio risings have this stare. I remember there was this girl, I would never there was this girl I used to know, and it was like a situation, you know, a bunch of mutuals, whatever. And I used to think she had such a stank ass attitude, and years later, now I've come to like know this person a little bit better. I realize it's not that. It's just that her Scorpio rising gave intense. Like, why are you so intense? Like, I don't like when people look at me real hard and like don't say anything. Cause like it's one thing to be interested in a person and want to talk and all that, but like don't do that. And then I see you with your person or whatever, you know, cause the girls whatever, and you're really talkative and all of that. But then when I come in the room, you get real quiet and just be looking real hard. I don't like that, Scorpio rise. Why do y'all do that sometimes? Anyways, but yeah, they do have, like, once you get to know them, I think that they're just assessing what's going on, and I tend to be different. People don't always know what they're dealing with when they're dealing with me, so maybe that's why. But you guys are known for your like emotional depth and your resilience, even like that becomes a thing that you guys are known for. And there is a level of determination. Put a puzzle in front of these people and a prize, maybe not just a puzzle, but if it's a puzzle that if I get this I win, if I get this, you know, this prize, if I get this puzzle, they might go a little crazy. You might see them go a little haywire. Or a competition, a little competition, a little fun, you know, do the dash, little grocery store. What's that one show? The Price is not The Price. Anyway, y'all know what I'm trying to say. You'll see their energetic, their competitive side come out. Fourth house for you guys. We're talking about fourth house because fourth house talks about our inner psychology, our early childhood, even how we were parented, especially how we were mothered and nurtured, and how that laid the foundation for us to become the adults that we are today, right? As we reparent ourselves and work with our psyches that has been set by early childhood. All right, yours was in Aquarius, so that gives you a very, very unique mindset. Your mindset is not typical. It's not run of the mill. Again, that might lend to the kind of mysterious air that you have upon meeting people. It gives a very people can't pick up where you are. A lot of times you're hard to read. It's hard for them to follow your mentality, your mindset. because you're so like, Aquarius is where we make our own decisions about how we're going to govern ourselves and how we're going to rule ourselves, our dogmas, right? The things that we believe in, the things that we, our morals and our standards daily. Okay, so having Aquarius in your fourth house is like your childhood might have either empowered you to be or inspired you to be very rebellious in setting your own rules and rules of engagement, and you don't always feel the need to share those rules of engagement with the people that you interact with, but you know what they are, and so you have a strict sort of code of conduct that you hold yourself to. And so a lot of times I think that's where that staring kind of comes in, like you measuring people up to try to see. And so it says in my notes, early childhood life may have been unconventional, detached, or highly intellectual, heavy on the highly intellectual, more about the principle of things, the thought of it, like the intention behind certain things rather than what's actually going on. Grew up learning to think independently and question traditional family structures. So again, having your own sort of ideas about structure, family, tradition, all those things. Family dynamics might have involved sudden changes or rebellion against norms. Yeah, so there could have been, because Aquarius is ruled by Uranus, there could have been certain upheavals, whether that was emotionally, physically. It's kind of like we just did Libra rising, kind of like them, because both they have a Capricorn fourth house, you guys have an Aquarius fourth house. Both of those signs are ruled by Saturn, and Saturn is about restriction. So there's this sense of being rigid, being held against, not having access to something, being in the middle of you and in that, it's like you in the mother's bosom, like I'm being so serious too. Like there's a sense of coldness that comes with your fourth house. Yours at least was replaced with the gift of imagination and thought, and so you tend to think very forwardly and be very much in the future with your thoughts. And you okay, so Scorpio first house, Pluto rules over kind of manipulation, so you like to think ahead, you like to understand the game that you're in, whatever it is, socially, professionally, whatever it is in life. You like to be 10 steps ahead of whatever it is. And so you may struggle with balancing emotional vulnerability with intellectual detachment. You may put more value on intellectual detachment than you do the emotions of it all, because the emotions won't get you as far. Okay. And so with that being said, definitely want to work on that. Don't want to let that fester. Aquarius is also where we tend to isolate, but it's also collective consciousness. So it's like you need some emotional support somewhere. You'd have to get a personal chart to figure out where that support would have to come from, or a personal reading. All right, moving on to seventh house. Seventh house is in Taurus, the house of relationships. So seventh house is about relationships. It's about partnership. It's about how you are in partnerships, but also what you attract. It's what you call in. It's your mirror energy in your whole entire chart. So with yours being in Taurus, you do have a very sensual way of being. Again, we come back to talking about the five senses, because Taurus is our taking it back, we're in a fixed sign cross now. Scorpio, Aquarius, Taurus, Leo. Okay. So with that being said, there's 4 of those signs. Each of them is represented by an element. In our relationships, this is where the earth is. So this is where the grounding is. This is where the things get brought down to actuality. And so within your relationships, you tend to be attracted to partners that can provide you material safety, gains, appeal to your pleasures, really who sort of feed into the physicality of things. They can look exactly, how you would want a partner to look. You might be really infatuated with the way that they look, with their steadfastness, because you might tend to have a more, I don't want to say tumultuous life, but you might tend to have more flux in your expression than they do, and they might tend to be a little bit more grounding for you and sort of help you maintain in the eye of the storm. So I have in my notes, attracted to steady, sensual, grounded partners, seeking relationships that provide emotional security and physical comfort. That's what I'm getting to. Like, there's a sense of physical safety, security, comfort, right? So you might find yourself using your kind of manipulative powers, right, and your gift of foresight in order to pick out partners who can provide long-term stability to you in those ways. Emotional stability, if you come from a home life or a family life that's not the most stable, then you would definitely scope out a partner that's going to have that sense of stability for you and want to even maybe integrate into their family, so you could have those physical, tangible experiences and memories. And you might struggle with partners who are resistant to change or overly indulgent. So that's excuse me, my back is itching. That's the downside to any of this, is that inchangeability, in that sort of, I'm thinking of words I don't really use, impervious. I don't know if that fits, but in that immobility, right, of your partner, the stability that they have, they could tend to be resistant to your natural need for change and for flux, right? And sometimes you just might be willing to flip some shit over just because you're bored, honestly. Scorpio is about the transformation of it all. You might just be like, fuck all this shit, I'm ready to start over. And they're like, oh my God, start over for what? And that could be a pain in your ass. Anyways, you prefer relationships that balance your intensity with your partner's steadiness. So it's all about just making sure everybody's qualities have a place, a proper, proper sense of expression. I'm trying to figure out if this little mark is, I think that's my iPad. Anyways. Is that my iPad? I hope so. Anyways. Last house is 10th house. So 10th house is where all these energies we've talked about kind of gain momentum, make it up to the highest point of your chart, which is the most visible point of your chart, which talks about reputation. It talks about reputation. It talks about, what it is that we can see, what it is that we're known for, or what it is other people can see, what it is that we're known for. And it can also be our career, status quo, all this shit, right? All right. To me, it's the higher calling. Mine is also in Pisces, so I mean, what the fuck do I know? So, yours is in Leo. You are, so who are we talking about? Scorpio rising. Oh, yes, honey, the fixed sign of it all. So, yeah, okay, so taking it back to the first house, that intense, mysterious air is very Hollywood, honey. It's very Hollywood. So people see whatever it is that you're doing, they perceive it to have a level of class, a level of prestige, okay? And now whether that's by nature of what you're doing or by nature of the flair that you put onto it or whatever, that's how people perceive it. So you might tend to go towards higher earning careers that are more visible within the spotlight. And yeah, if they're not visible in the spotlight, they might be a little bit more higher earning. They could be very, very low key, but still able to afford you it could be even simple luxuries, like being able to get your lashes done every, on the most frequent schedule, and, keeping your hair done. Or, I know a couple of y'all who keep standing appointments every week, and I'm like, dang, you go get your hair done every week? I don't even want nobody in my head every single week, every 2 weeks. Okay, every week, honey, can I take a damn? Some parents don't even see their kids every week. I'm not saying it's right. Anyway, but yeah, the public reputation is that of Leo. Leo is ruled by the sun. It's where, things kind of revolve around it. And so just making it known, these little certain rituals that you may have, pampering rituals especially, or just things that make you feel fabulous. If it's, every time I get paid, I go get a new pair of Crocs or pair of shoes, or, the TikTokers who have all of those damn Starbucks cups. It gives very Scorpio rising, because even in those videos, girl, I don't know if we ever see what they look like, but we know what their apartment look like. It always be nighttime. It's always dark, and there's this mystery, this insinuation of this person who's like, okay, you work as a nurse, pretty high paying, depending on what type of nursing you do. You have the ability to get all of these simple pleasures and luxuries. So that's that Taurus, the comforts, right? So I don't know. I think she's single. If not, her husband gives her a whole bunch of cabinets in the house so she can put her shit. Anyways, y'all get where I'm going with this. So yeah, just making yourself of importance through the career. It's there. It's there. Um, I have in my notes, known for being passionate, ambitious, and commanding in the career. Yeah, something about it. Something about it gives boss. Something about it gives, if not boss, then high end chill. Because I know sometimes Leos be getting bossy energy, but really, a lot of times they don't even really want to be the boss. They just want to be the boss of themselves, which, go off. And then publicly admired for creativity, confidence, and leadership ability. So absolutely, absolutely. I will say y'all do tend to be able to deal with people, so I could see you guys in roles of like management, um, but even more so than that, independent roles where like you work independently. Don't call me, I'll call you type of energy, okay, honey? So I really appreciate you guys, Scorpio Risings, for spending a couple minutes with me to talk about your rising sign. As always, if you would like a more in-depth reading, you can absolutely reach the link below in order to schedule some time with me. We could talk about your personal chart. Um, I would really appreciate if you guys like this video, subscribe to the channel, of course, you know what I'm saying, for more like it, and share this with somebody that you think needs to know a little bit more about what it's like being a Scorpio rising. Until next time, peace.